vision of area Catholic communities. Most of you have seen a draft of this vision. September, October, this fall. We have made a couple of changes, and I just want to point out a couple of those changes to you. The vision of our area Catholic communities. Every parish in the Diocese of St. Cloud will be part of an area Catholic community consisting of 2 or more parishes in a given area. All area Catholic communities will collaborate to provide for the pastoral and spiritual needs of all. As an area Catholic community, share resources and talents and efforts. We hope to re-energize Catholics so all parishes thrive in the Diocese of St. Cloud. Our values. As Catholic Christians, by virtue of our baptism, we have the responsibility to carry out the priestly, prophetic, and kingly roles in the parish and community. Every parish has something unique and special to bring to the area Catholic community. And leaders from each parish together play an important role in providing the leadership for the needs of the whole area Catholic community. And every area Catholic community will celebrate the Sunday Eucharist weekly. Our expectations. Intentional collaboration between all area parishes will need to happen to meet the pastoral and spiritual needs of all, including fostering vocations and evangelization. Everyone serving in leadership positions will need strong, ongoing formation according to their role. Every area Catholic community will determine the best approach for good stewardship of facilities, finances, staff, and programs to meet the pastoral and spiritual needs of the area Catholic community. Every parishioner will have access to the Sunday Eucharist within 25 to 30 miles, and priests will celebrate only 3 masses on a given weekend, not including weddings and funerals, unless given special permission from the bishop. This is our vision document for our area Catholic communities. This is what we want to put out. We'll be putting this information out and starting there when we talk about area Catholic communities. So the question has come to me, where did this come from? Where did the idea of area Catholic community come from? Did it come from left field? Are you making this up as we go along? The answer to that is no. We have looked at several other dioceses. The Archdiocese of Boston, they use collaboratives. The Diocese of London calls it family of parishes. The Archdiocese of Chicago, they use groupings. The Diocese of Syracuse, they call it pastoral care areas. And next door to us, the Diocese of New Ulm, they call it area faith communities. So as we were talking about this and discerning what we would like to do and how we would like to move forward, these are some of the dioceses, including some others. These are some of the dioceses that we were looking to for their vision, for their ideas, for how do they put together their plans, and in more than just clusters or twins. The next slide here is looking at a structure. We're playing with this structure a little bit. Certainly our mission is at the center. And our ministries flow in and out of our mission, and our values. This could be used as an individual parish, but it also could be used as an area Catholic community, as building blocks. Our mission in the center, where we have the pastor, the area Catholic Community Council, we have ministry staff around those circles, and we ripple out the ministries and our mission as we move out. As we add parishes, our mission becomes bigger, and we include all of that in the body of Christ. You'll notice some of these intersect. We're changing a little bit how we look at ministry. We're not just moving the same snow over and over again. We want to change how we're doing this. What are the potential benefits of this model? We want to capture the reality of our church today and looking at being a missionary church that reaches out. We're expanding our checks and balances and quality control and accountability. We're engaging a variety of people in leadership. We're supporting our leaders in looking at the ministry, including the priests and staff. We're going to try and enhance communication and allowing for diversity. This is a long-term view. We're taking a look at what is going to be possible in the future. We're encouraging stewardship of personal and physical resources and building on personal and shared strengths and sustaining those while we are in the midst of change. Once we announced kind of our idea and our concept last fall, some have started some things. The first thing that you may be interested in knowing is a blog in the St. Cloud Metro. It's called Together and Change. The draft of the vision has been put up there. Some ideas have been put up there. None of the final ideas or map has been put up. But they've been talking about elements of change, talking about positive ideas and moving ahead. And as we are changing ministries, perspective, and taking a positive view on some of that. Some of the blogs on there have come from some of the pastors in the area. Some of them have come from the lay leadership in the area. So it has been an avenue to share positive ideas for change. One of the other events that has happened in January is a mission. We're all familiar with missions in the parishes. This advertisement came from Piers Harding, Lastrip, and Buckman with their mission and used the area Catholic. Basically, it's just changing language. But they have, what I like about this, is there was an evening at each one of the parishes in that area. The next thing in your packet I'm going to reference is a listing of current employees. I met with the Sherburne County pastors, and they were talking about the employees that they have in each of their parishes. So this is a blank one. That's what they were looking at area visitation, St. Andrew, Christ Our Light, and St. Marcus. You know, which employees for how many hours and who's kind of where. I'd certainly be open to sending this electronically if you'd like. We took this and put it alphabetically and made it blank, so you kind of get the idea. But it was just a really good visual to see who's where and what kind of ministries are covered across the whole area. One of the other things that they were also talking about was a policy change for St. Andrews in Elk River. Currently, they're looking at changing one of the policies to include the Sherburne County parishes families, as they have a wait list or a potential wait list. Who's allowed to come in first? First, it's existing school families. Then St. Andrews families. The third then would be all of the families, all of the Catholic families in the area. And correct me if I'm wrong, it would not be out of parish tuition. Is that correct? Yeah. And then other Catholic parishes and then non-Catholic families. So already talking about how that affects the Catholic school in the area and who can be invited, and cooperation with that, with the Catholic school. Another idea is the Albany area has a website, and they include every parish. Now they're going to have to include another one, sorry. But all of the parishes are mentioned, and it's an area Catholic community website. So they have Seven Dolors, St. Martin, St. Anthony, and Holy Failing School, all on one website. When you click down, there's information on each parish individually. They're going to have to add a line. So some of the other ideas that have already happened. One, and this isn't really, you can't see these pictures really well, but the Sherburne County parishes, they had lunch together as a staff. That's what this picture is down here. And they met after they had lunch. They met in ministry groups. So they had the secretaries, pastors, leadership, youth ministry, faith formation, and they just talked with each other. The maintenance guys, they talked with each other probably for about 25, 30 minutes, something like that, and came up with 2 pages worth of, how can we, not only just sharing what they do themselves, but how can we collaborate together? What might that look like? There were 2, I thought, really wonderful things that happened that day. There were more than that, but there were 2 really good things. One, I loved that the 3 maintenance guys got together and sat down and had a conversation. My stereotype of a maintenance person doesn't really want to sit down and have a conversation. They just want to kind of do their job. They came up with some ideas about sharing vendors and supplies between the parishes. So I thought that was really good. And they also got up and walked the campus, knowing that Princeton and Zimmerman is looking at building. They were looking at the structure, they were looking at different things within that campus at St. Andrews. So it was really good conversation just to have with each other. And if maintenance guys can think of ways to collaborate, I think anybody can. And there's a whole list, and you can't really see it really well, but the one idea that I really loved, and it's right here, it says, not having the same festival dates. I walked away from that meeting going, it was such a good meeting, there was such really good energy there, and the idea behind that was, we're not competing with each other. We're collaborating, not competing. So that was And that would be one of those instances where, are we competing with each other? And sometimes we are. If we have festival dates on different dates, that might be to everybody's benefit. So we need to be creative. I'm looking at this. And using the resources that we have. And there are ideas that are out there that we're not even aware of yet. That's the idea behind an area Catholic community. So, what does that look like in real life? That looks like, here's the map. Do you notice anything on the top? It's gone. The draft word is gone. This is it. We've had several conversations over the last few months with some feedback. You'll notice there are some changes from the initial draft. We are not at the stage anymore where we're looking for feedback on relationships of parishes. This is it. Yes?
You didn't put the number of priests in the circles.
I did not put the number of priests in the circles. Yes, that will be determined. This is based off of a low number of about 47 priests across the diocese. We will not reach 47 for a few years yet. So this is gradual when we get there. The relationships between these parishes can begin anytime. Meaning, when we go back, what are some of the other things that we could be doing right now? Lunch with the area staff. We also, in another area, we had the pastors attending the town hall meetings or the pastoral council meetings in each other's parishes. Maybe a ministry swap weekend, maybe it's a priest swap or a choir swap or something like that. Sharing resources. And there's lots of other ideas out there. The number of priests will decline in some areas, and they will stay the same in some areas in the next 5 years. So I don't have numbers for each area. We could talk a little bit more about that if you would like. Then the next thing in your packet are the statistics. So these are the statistics for 2018. So these are this past year's statistics for each area Catholic community. And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on that right now. So what's next after today? We're going to start with a communication rollout. And basically, it's going to be a soft rollout in a couple of different avenues. Starting March 1st, which is Friday, we are going to put a letter, a Bishop Kettler letter, and the map on social media. If you have social media, Facebook, Twitter, whichever, we would really like it if you would share the diocesan one, because then we're sharing the same information. We're going to put it on our website and social media on Friday. It will be in the Central Minnesota Catholic in the April edition. And our diocesan newsletter in the April edition. Then we're looking at if you would like to do a open parish meeting in the next couple of months. We would encourage that as well. In your packet, the next thing in your packet are bulletin announcements. So this could be used as a bulletin insert. It could be used as taking one question and answer at a time and going over the next couple of months, however you choose to do this. So we're asking in the next month or so to share this information with the parish in a variety of ways. If they receive the Central Minnesota Catholic, they're going to get it in the magazine in April. And the map will be in that edition. The other thing that we're asking as far as next steps and timeline, we'll talk about communication in a little bit more. So this next month is we're going to start getting the word out that this is the final vision and draft. Also in March is taking a look at naming parish representatives to an area planning council. We are asking each parish will have equal representation. And I'll talk about that in a little bit more. Then the Area Planning Council has formation days in April, May, and to have the first Area Planning Council meeting by July 1st. There might be some that will have more than that, but at least having one before the July 1st date. So that is our target, beginning implementation. And then by December, the end of the year, we're looking at submitting plans from every area Catholic community to the Diocesan Planning Office. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. Communication. What does communication, like I mentioned, we are going to roll out the information in this next couple of months. And at every parish in the diocese, bulletins, Facebook, social media, same thing. Here are some tips here for effective communication. It is impossible to over-communicate. And repetition is helpful. So not just saying, we put it in the bulletin once, we're calling it good. We need to use a variety of ways over a couple of times, more than a couple. So people are aware of what's coming. Providing smaller messages consistently over time is helpful. And then the opportunistic communication can support a formal communication process. So the opportunistic conversations, those are the conversations with your staff, and the staff sharing it with parishioners, with your pastoral council, sharing it with parishioners. So we're quelling some of the rumors that come up when we talk about this. So it's going to be helpful to have conversations with your staff, with pastoral council, with finance council, so the leadership of the parish has the same information and can help share that information with parishioners. It's that informal communication that has the disproportionate impact on receivers. So it's helpful if as many people as possible has that same core information and can share that with everyone. People are not at their best when they are surprised, and the truth is appreciated even if it's difficult to hear. So this says, I don't know if you can read it. Let's move to Minnesota, they said, It's not that cold, they said. If people are aware of what's coming, they know it's not a surprise. The initial shock of what is going to happen will happen. But over time, we can move to a positive attitude and adjusting to what the new changes will be. As part of that's growth. I'm going to go back here for a second. So the timeline. That's the next part, or the next handout in your packet. Let's see. Ivory, I think. So the first month, this next month, March, is naming area planning council members and inviting the area Catholic Community Council to a formation day. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Month 1 to 3 is they attend formation day, the planning teams meet, there's community building, they begin to review information and agendas, and we begin looking at the pastoral cycle and gathering information. Month 2 to 4, I'm not going to walk through the whole thing with you, but these are the next few months, and it brings us to, on the back side, months 6 through 8, submitting a plan to the Diocesan Planning Office. So naming goals for the area community and priorities, and looking at possible action steps to get to those goals and priorities. Okay? That's about the next 6 months. So the planning council member, that's the yellow one in your handout. The planning council is an appointed task force commissioned by the pastors of the individual parishes of the area Catholic community. They are tasked with building relationships as well as evaluating present structures to better facilitate a vibrant community. The ACC Planning Council will be created by an equal number of representatives, no more than 3, from each parish in the area Catholic community. Appointed members will be representatives from a parish leadership council, most likely the pastoral or parish pastoral council, 1 from staff, and 1 at-large person. Those are the 3 that we're recommending from each parish. So what is their duties? They are responsible, and it is not a decision-making body, it is a visioning body. It's investigative and advisory. It will perform initial reviews on all aspects of collaborating identified by the pastors and the diocese. So there's the rest of the page. Their scope of work is programs, parish life, financial issues, etc. Whatever you deem as priorities in that area. Yes?
Are you saying that each individual grouping is going to have tailored to their needs?
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
That is exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yes. So every area is going to look at the priorities in that area. Yep. And determine what their goals, short-term and long-term goals will be. So, yes?
Just maybe to help me get my bearings, if this council will not be a decision-making body, body, who is it? Who's making decisions if it's not this body?
They are advisory to the pastor. I think that doesn't change even in the pastoral councils that you have currently. So it's the same system. In the end, they are going to be the ones that are going to have the conversations that, let's just say, I'm throwing this out there. Let's say a parish, back up. Let's say one of the churches, facilities in an area decides to repurpose or close. They would make a recommendation then to the pastoral councils and to the pastor. And so those decisions and conversations happen there, as well as the communication is going to happen at the planning council as well as the pastoral councils.
So who's the decision-making body?
It's going to depend on normal circumstances, right? Most
Right.
decisions at parish level are made by the pastor.
Right.
Some decisions have to be made at the diocesan level. So the same systems that you have in place now as a pastor in your parishes,
Don't change.
unless there's some unique circumstance that you're thinking of that we weren't thinking of as a planning council, it seems like the same things would be addressed in the same manner that they currently are. So pastor decides, most things.
Or bishop, depending on
Right.
depending on the decisions that are made or being asked to be made. Yes.
If this plan is submitted to the diocese,
Yep.
it would the diocese be the final decision maker?
In some instances, yes. Correct. Yes. So I can't totally answer that because I think it depends on the issue and the topic. The diocese is not going to make decisions on staffing, for instance. So I don't have if you want to share a staff, that would be within the parishes and pastors. Yes.
You mentioned staffing.
Right.
That could be a concern. Parish employees are always concerned with losing your jobs.
Yep.
Is that going to be an issue to
Yes.
discuss?
It will absolutely be one of the issues that will be discussed. And when we first talked about this plan, I was convinced that there's room for more lay ministers in this plan. And I still think that is true. But I also think that some of the ministers' jobs are going to shift. I think that some of our parishes are going to reduce the number of masses, which affects the financial capability of paying staff. And so to looking at how that, you can't guarantee that everybody's going to have a job, but how does that look like? What does that look like in an area? And those are some of the things that we need to be creative about. Those are some of the things that we need to look at how all of our ministries are being covered across the area. That's exactly what you're touching on right now. It's exactly the conversations we need to have and exactly the idea that we need to collaborate together. This is the vision that we're looking at. It's not just one parish. Yes, I'm sorry.
Are you prepared for pushback? That's right, alongside of that is
Yeah.
conflict resolution. And we're very
Yes.
just absolutely poor
Yes.
at that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know,
Okay.
we need more than we've got.
Yeah. Hang on to that when we get to that. Okay? All right. Do I expect pushback? Absolutely. I absolutely do. And then I'm going to Kenya, so. reinventing anything new. Many of our parishes across the diocese are familiar with sharing resources. They're familiar with having to combine a staff person. Not everybody. But we do have examples in our diocese of where this is working well. In fact, one of the comments that I've gotten at this last fall was, well, our Knights of Columbus, they decided to come together, and if we switch parishes, will we have to break up the Knights of Columbus group that we just merged together? No. You know, so we're already starting and moving in that direction. Okay. So who are we looking at as far as the area? I want to go to the qualities of our area Catholic Council, area Catholic Community Council, and council members. That's hard to say. When we have only a couple, 2 or 3 representatives from every parish, the type of person that we're looking for is going to be important. It's going to be somebody who, first of all, is an active and a participating member in the parish. It's someone who has a universal vision of church, who can see the common good, who can look at issues and challenges beyond not only themselves, but beyond their parish. Someone who is a good listener and is able to communicate openly and honestly about their own parish and about the needs in the area. Someone who has a desire for spiritual growth, who is going to be in this, not just for their own agenda, but for the greater good and the mission of Jesus Christ. Someone who's open to studying and reflection, who is willing to take the time to have some conversations and maybe to do some research. Eagerness to carry out the mission of Jesus Christ. And is good at working in groups and has the time and energy. Those are the kinds of people that we're looking for right now. Yes.
Why is the time limit?
Why is there a time?
How many years are they going to be members? For lifelong?
Well, like any good committee.
The trustees are there.
Yes.
Yeah.
There'd be right.
So.
I would imagine that we haven't talked about that yet, but yeah, there would be a term limit. Yeah. Yes. Right.
Just a question, Brenda, on these planning council members.
Yes.
Would you see pretty much the pastors kind of surveying and picking people, or opening it up to those who might be interested in this?
Yeah, good question. Here's the challenge with that. And you can, if I'm wrong, challenge me. I think it's looking at somebody and appointing that person. If we open it up, I'm afraid that there's going to be people in there who have an agenda. And if they have an agenda, that's going to be a bigger challenge. That's going to be a bigger challenge. Yeah. If I am dead set on doing this, I can't see the bigger picture. These folks are really people who are going to be able to see the bigger picture, have the hard conversations, and be able to, knowing that there's going to be blowback. They're going to be able to have a little bit of a tough skin as well. Yeah. So not everybody can do that. Yes.
Firstly, thank changes in many cases.
Yes,
In
that's
which,
right.
okay,
Yes.
and for, okay. So because pastors are responsible for this,
Yep.
is that to say if you have a cluster that is being split, that you would be attending two different meetings, that you would be assisting with the current pastor of the neighboring council, things like this? Or would you be designating one of those pastors to oversee?
That's a great question. I just have to apologize to Father Gino right now. Because we are yes, I'm sorry. We're breaking up the cluster, and all three of those parishes are in different new ones. So the question you're asking is valid, because and I'm going to use James as an example. I don't expect you to go to all three of these. I don't know the best approach, and the best approach might be exactly what you talked about. There is also going to have to be communication with area pastors as well as the appointed members. I would love it in an ideal world. The pastors would be part of this area planning council all the way along the way. In some cases, it's not going to be possible. And how are you then going to make sure that that communication and those conversations, because again, who's the decision maker? Where do the decisions happen? And if you're engaged in some hard conversations, which I know this is going to happen, you don't want to be surprised, as well as the parish doesn't want to be surprised. And being able to engage in that conversation so you know where this is coming from, how we got from A to Z, is helpful. Does that make sense? I don't think I completely answered your question, but that's the best I got right now.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, where were we? Aha. Okay.
Brenda?
Yes.
Line?
Yep.
Someone just said it would be nice to have your thing on communication tips.
Sure.
printed out.
Okay. Yep, I can do that. Electronic. Would you like the PowerPoint electronically?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll send that tomorrow. I will send that tomorrow. So your ACC Planning Council, your members, we are going to, just shy of requiring, we are requiring them to come to one of the formation days. And registration is on the bottom. It's at our planning office. Through our website, I'm sorry. These planning days will consist of communication. It will, discernment. How do we discern? How do we plan? What is the planning process, which you have that cycle in your folder? What is the planning process? And we'll take them through each of those steps. We're also going to talk about conflict. And what does conflict mean, and how do we address conflict? So those are the 4 formation days. Yep, we walked through all of these.
Brenda?
Yes.
Are you asking the pastors to get those as well?
In an ideal world, yes. Yes. Yep.
Why not?
Yeah.
Don't say ideal world.
In an ideal world, yes. Okay.
Get to one of these.
Go to one of them.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't have to go with the same.
Right. Right. That question has been asked. We would like all of the council members to attend one of these formation days. We know schedules are what they are, and so if all of the parish leaders are not able to make that particular day, they've got other options. Okay, is that the question you were asking?
Yeah, if they had to be together, or if possible, if there were different ones.
Again, in an ideal world, it would be nice if they would be together, but I just don't know, I don't see that would, sometimes it's not going to be possible. Yeah, so we're going to walk through, those formation days are going to be so important because we're going to walk through this process with them. We're going to talk about what a vision is for an area Catholic community. We're going to look at some of the issues that are going to come up and how do we help them. We're not just going to say, okay, be a planning council member and have a good time. This is formational and foundational for what their job is going to be, including conflict management. Yes.
Not on formation day, if you're stating on that. I have a different question. Who submits the plans from a particular ECC? At the end of the year, there's a plan.
There's a plan.
Who does that?
The council members do.
They decide.
Yeah, with the pastors, of course.
So I'm not sure who's responsible for
Yeah.
that plan.
Yeah, well, that's part of the
Okay.
last column.
Oh, yeah.
They're gonna be, yeah, they'll be responsible. Yes.
Can you go back one slide, there's a date discrepancy on maybe.
You can't hear back there.
Okay, the date, did I?
It's a date discrepancy on the
Did I
Saturday,
fix-
May 18, yeah. Go
Did I
back
not
one-
fix
just
it?
Go back one slide, Saturday, May 4?
Oh, no, it's May 18th. That's,
Okay.
that was my, that's my,
Right.
some of the dates got changed.
Thank you.
So the blue,
This was
that
right.
one's accurate.
Okay.
Yep, that one's accurate.
The website matches.
April 13th, Saturday.
Okay. So I just wanted to say, this is part of a process. When I first started in this position, I thought, okay, we'll have a process ready to go by May and we'll implement it by June and we can start all of this. And almost a year later now, I'm like, oh, I get it. I'm learning the definition of process. And it doesn't happen quickly. It doesn't happen quickly. So I just want to say, sometimes there's decisions that you might want to make and to engage other people in those decisions. Because that's part of what we're asking as an area Catholic community. That we have conversations and we go back and we go, this is a process. Okay, so things to do in March for you. Talk with the area Catholic community priest. This is the first thing. And make a decision about how many planning council members each parish should have and who they should be. In some areas you might have 2, in other areas you might have 3. So we're kind of 2 or 3. In some of the large areas you may not want 3 because it gets to be too large. Appoint. So think about who in your parish or parishes, who would be really good planning council members. And invite them, ask them, invite them to become a planning council member, and then invite them to the formation days. One of the formation days. Then communicate the plan to the parish. And these are a variety, not limited to all of this, but these are some of the things we'd like you to do. First, sharing the final draft with pastoral councils, finance councils, trustees, staff, etc. First, and then sharing it with the parish. Bulletin announcements. We gave you a page of that, bulletin announcements. If you have any other questions regarding that or you need other information, please let me know. Offering an open parish meeting. If you think that you would find that helpful, I'd be more than happy to come out. First of all, you were welcome to do that as well. But if you'd like somebody else to come in and have an open parish meeting about the final draft, please let me know. I'd be willing to and open to coming out.
Brenda,
Yes.
do you encourage those to be individual parish meetings or to have a one meeting for the prospective ACC together?
Yes. What does that mean? It means that if you would like to have individual parish meetings, go ahead. If you think that it would be helpful to have your cluster meeting in the clusters or the twins that you have now, one meeting between the 2 or 3, go ahead. If you want to have an area Catholic community open parish meeting, I think any and all of those would be ideal. Okay? So any of them. Yes?
You know, I lived, Jill and I had watched PBS had a program with Tom Casey, which we all know.
Yeah.
And also the bishop in
You want? Or?
The Lutheran bishop down in southwest Minnesota. I forget Anderson. Casey said that Bishop LaVar has spent 3 years talking with any parish that was going to change their status one way or another. 3 years, I think that's a lot of devotion to the process. Also, the bishop from southwest Minnesota said that they had, this was generally locally driven because of for a lot of reasons in their experience. And what they typically supplied was staff to come out and talk with people about conflict resolution issues that arose, that kind of thing. And you know, as I hear this conversation today, though, there is no reference to Hispanics in our parishes. And they are a fact. You know, they are also our future. And I don't know how we address those things. But I think that we've got a plan with them in mind. And it doesn't help to have, we're not going to drive 50 miles for the mass. We have this expectation of having Hispanics drive along Prairie from wherever, or Melrose from wherever. You know, it's not really helpful.
Did everybody hear that question? Okay, so the observation is that we really are not paying attention to the Hispanic population with this plan. And you're right, on the outset we're not. I've had several conversations with Majuli, with a couple of others, and not that we're planning simultaneously. Even right now, our Hispanic ministry is almost parallel. And I don't have a good answer. I don't have a good answer because what we do know is our Hispanic ministry affects other ministry. Our other ministries affect Hispanic ministry, especially when it comes to human resources and who You know, right now, we have people driving, saying mass, driving miles and miles to say mass. We're talking about it, I don't have a good answer for it right now.
Don't you think before we solidify these plans, or whatever, we have to be sure that that's an ingredient here?
It certainly is an ingredient. It certainly is.
I'll address that
Okay,
eventually.
okay. Yeah. It's not like it's not thought about. We have been thinking about it. It's not as clear. Okay. Okay.
Break down.
Almost. I just want to share a couple of other things. The first is, I went to Our Lady of Moonstone in Kensington, and I took a picture of this banner that they had up in their church hall. Do not be afraid of tomorrow. God is already there. We know this. I want to share a couple of resources, getting back to, I'm not necessarily endorsing them, but it's a couple of books that I have been reading of late. One of which, this one, Redeeming Conflict, is very good. We're reading it as a diocesan staff and breaking it apart. I'm finding that it has some really good habits and talks about conflict in a healthy way and not shying away from conflict, because it presents opportunities for holiness. So I really like the way she did this. Another book that I have read of late is Everyone Leads. And it's really a call to our baptism, everybody's baptism, and how each person has a right and responsibility to be engaged in as a disciple and in church. And then just one last thing. I just wanted to share with some of you that as we roll this out, I am going to Kenya starting on Sunday. So I will help in any way I possibly can in the next 2 days, and then back when I come back. So I just want you to be aware that if you were to call my office or email, the next couple of weeks I'm actually going to be gone. So, yay. So I wanted to be upfront about that. Okay, now, any other questions before we take a quick break? Yes.
So I guess I go a little bit longer, Father Nichols' question about pastoral assignments.
Yeah.
So this takes place in the transition team, and all these things go into effect before any changes in clergy assignments or anything like that. So what is the discussion on that, or how's that going to go? Because they're going to be people saying, well, you're making decisions, but you won't be here in a couple months, and so now you're doing it. How do we address that with the uncertainty of that with the current transition teams?
You know,
I'll take care of that.
okay. It's not any different than, yeah. All right. Are we ready for a break? Yes. All right.